political convulsions in Iran continue, and the government appointed by the Shah apparently has been toppled.
How did you get the funds for producing this movie?
Well, as you know, everything that is done on public television requires a raising of money from a lot of different people, company, corporations, foundations, and this project is no exception. Much of that work was done with the help of Joellen and the producer, Andrew Goldberg. We sat down early on in the project. We met with groups of Iranians. Andrew made a list. We talked through that list, and then he just started approaching people. And over a period of time, the dollars were raised to make the project possible. One of the challenges we have in public TV is projects tend to take a little bit of time to come to fruition, merely because there's that fundraising time that has to take place once you decide what the concept is and what needs to happen. And that's what occurred here.
There is not a side of me which is Iranian and a side of me which is American. It's sort of like scrambled eggs. When you scramble it, the white and the yolk, you can't separate it anymore. I don't know. I mean, this is who I am now. You know, my Iranian identity and American identity are woven together into a fabric, which is me right now.
How religion played a role in making decision to who to interview?
That's a good question, because there's an assumption, I think, by a lot of people that all Iranians are Muslim. Well, they're not. They're Baha'i, Zoroastrian, Jews, Christian, Muslim as well. And Andrew was very careful to make sure that a lot of those were touched upon, because there's a great diversity in the Iranian community. I think many Americans are surprised to know the history of Jews in Iran, for example. Where in many countries in the Middle East, Jews haven't fared very well in recent generations. The Iranians and Jews have gotten along going back as far as Cyrus the Great, who's mentioned in the Jewish Old Testament numerous times, because he was the one who let the Jews go back and rebuild the temple after the Babylonians had brought them into slavery. So, and then the story of Esther in the Old Testament, and Esther is buried in Iran. Okay. So we didn't get into religion in the documentary, but Andrew was very careful to make sure that the various different religious communities were represented among the people that were interviewed.
A lot of our families left. They left one after another. They left the country. They just left their houses, their everything. They packed their clothes. They bought a ticket and they left.
Iranian Americans don't seem to participate in the American politics. What do you think that is?
Oh, I think one of the reasons for that is that they are sort of new to America, and they haven't been here for many generations, and over time that will change.
That's changing. If you receive the Paya newsletter that comes out quite frequently, you will notice that more and more Iranians are starting to run for local office, for city council, for Congress, and of course Jimmy, the mayor of Beverly Hills, Bijan Kian, another one, Golia Mary ran for Congress. Yeah. But it's not uncommon for first-generation immigrants not to run for office, because they've become acclimated. And America is a democracy. It's a Republican form of government. Many immigrants come from countries that are not democratic, or where the population does not have the opportunity to participate. And democracy is not just an ideal, it's an experience. It's something that people do. And if you've never done it, how do you learn? So many immigrant communities, you see very little political participation in the first generation. But we're already seeing it in this community, and I think you'll see more as time goes on, because these Iranian immigrants are born leaders. They're leaders in industry and in the arts and in so many other areas in business.
We sometimes think in Farsi, we sometimes think in English. We sometimes count in Farsi, we sometimes count in English. We're truly dual cultured in that sense.
Being of Iranian heritage clearly is something that I'm proud of. I'm proud of the fact that, you know, the family is such an important unit where I grew up. That to me is what's made me. It's what made my kids. It's what's made my husband's family. It's just all of us being together like that. Clearly there's a history associated with it. there's all these cultural factors, there's the poetry, there's the music. I mean, these are things that we've all grown up with. And I don't know why one would want to let go of that, because it enriches our lives. It's enriched my life. I hope it's enriched my kids' lives, and I hope they will pass it on generation to generation. And I certainly hope it's enriched the lives of other non-Iranian Americans around me.
How do you get feedback from the public about this documentary?
Well, nobody's seen it yet, so we don't have too much feedback, although last week we did have a private showing of about 20 minutes of the documentary for a number of Iranian Americans in Southern California. Andrew Goldberg, the producer, by the way, who's not Iranian, we thought that was very important that we not have an Iranian do this.
Sure.
Andrew came out and spoke about the documentary. And of course, everyone says, well, did you think of doing this? Or why didn't you interview so-and-so? And Andrew reminded them of two things. One is, you can only do so much in a 1-hour documentary. You know, you could do hours and hours on this subject. So he had to make editorial decisions. The second thing is, while this documentary is about Iranian Americans, it was not produced for Iranian Americans. Iranian Americans already know about their community. It's the non-Iranian Americans that this is for, to expose the general community to this special group of people. And, but the feedback the other night was very good. I saw people in the audience with tears in their eyes because it brought back memories of when they lived in Iran or what they went through when they came here. There are times when people were laughing, usually when Maz Jabrani was speaking,
yeah.
or in other cases when someone said, you know, in the United States, when children become 18, they go away to college, and Iranians are saying, why would you want to leave your home? You don't leave your home until you get married, and then we still try to hold on to you. So some of these cultural differences were sources of some humor. So I think the response that we got was very good, and we're very anxious to hear what the general, not just Iranian community will think, but the general public will think after they see it.
The same way we do for everything. You know, we pay attention to a number of things. First of all, we pay attention to the number of people who watch. That tells us something right there, how much interest there was in this particular project. But then, of course, in a very direct way, we often get calls, we get letters. PBS will get calls and letters, and we'll hear about email blogs where there are people who criticize or who express their enthusiasm for the project. And as you know, nobody loves everything. And this project, which seems totally lovable to me, might be disliked by somebody somewhere along the way.
And please let us know the feedback that you get
Sure.
from people. We would love to hear it, and we're looking really forward to our friends seeing this.
It's sort of like scrambled eggs. When you scramble it, the white and the yolk, you can't separate it anymore.
They packed their clothes, they bought a ticket, and they left.
Celebrating Thanksgiving, even though we don't know what to do with this cranberry sauce.
We sometimes think in Farsi, we sometimes think in English.
I'm proud of the fact that, you know, the family is such an important unit where I grew up.
Be More, PBS.